Hi, this is Liji, and today we will see how we can load data using Pandas. So, what is Pandas? Pandas is an open source Python library that offers various data structures and operations for manipulating data. Let us see why we need Pandas first. So, this is the famous Titanic dataset that we have. It contains all the information about the ill-fated Titanic. So, on seeing this data, can you tell me how many surveyors were in that ship, or how many male and female passengers were there? What is the average fare for each class in the ship? Can you tell all these details from this data set? It is not that easy, right? Yes. So that is where pandas come into picture. So pandas help us to understand what is the correlation between two columns, what's the average value, minimum value, and much more. So mainly pandas are used to manage and explore data. It can handle missing data also. It can clean up data because whenever we get some data set, it won't be that clean. It will be having many unnecessary details. It will be having many null values. So unless and until we clean all this information, we won't be able to analyze this data. So the pandas help in cleaning it. It also helps us in getting data from multiple file formats. And finally, it helps us in data visualization also. Unless and until you can't visualize what is there in the data in the form of some graph or something, a layman, a third person won't be able to understand it. So the data visualization also plays a very important role in data analysis. So to start with, you have to you can use pandas in your code by using import pandas. You have to import it first because this is a Python library and it is not part of the regular core Python package. So you will have to import it, and since you will have to use lots of methods and data structures from this pandas, I have given an alias name for it, that is PD. So wherever I have to use pandas dot or the dot operator to invoke any methods or data structures, I'll be using pd dot. So this pd acts as an alias for the pandas library over here. That's why I have given import pandas as pd. Here instead of pd, you can give whatever you feel like. It is just an alias name. And while importing, if pandas is not present in your system, it will give an error telling module not found. So in that case, you will have to install pandas using pip install pandas, or you can go in from your Jupyter notebook itself, or you can go to a command prompt and you can install it. Now, see, as Python is having many data structures like int, float, the list, dictionary, and all. Pandas also provide us two main data structures which helps us in dealing with data. So this data structure is data frame and series. So if you see over here, whatever you are seeing over here, this is a data frame. Okay, the entire two-dimensional picture figure that you are seeing over here is a data frame. So in case of a data frame, it has both rows and columns. So when data is arranged in rows and columns in pandas, it is known as data frame. And each data frame is formed by individual series. So each row or column in a data frame is known as a series. That is single dimensional array over here is a series, while the 2D array that we are getting over here is a data frame. And as you can notice over here, there are indexes over here. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, those are row indexes, and passenger ID surveyed P class, these are column indexes. So data frame and series contains indexes also to refer to the data that we are having. So a series is a one-dimensional labeled array capable of holding data of any type. The data can be of any type. It can be integer, string, float, Python objects. It can be anything. And data frame is a two-dimensional data structure which is aligned in a tabular fashion in rows and columns, in the form of rows and columns, and is a series of a group of series forms a data structure. Now let us see how we can create a series from a list. So as you have seen over here, a series is a one-dimensional array, and similarly a list is a one-dimensional array, right? So here we are creating a list over here. So the list is 1, 2, 3. Okay, so now once you have a list, how can you convert it to tuple? We will use the constructor tuple, right? So a list is easily converted to tuple over here. In similar manner, when you want to convert it into a series, you just have to call the constructor series. But the only difference is that this constructor is not available in the core Python package, and because of that you will have to use it like pd.series because it is present in the pandas library, and this pd is the alias name we created for that. Okay, so we are using pd.series and we are passing the list over there, and so here we get the series. Now if you notice the difference between the series and list is enclosed within square brackets and the items are separated using commas. In case of series, you get a one-dimensional array where each of the item is having an index associated with it. Okay, and also it gives the type of the data, how the site of the data in this series. So that is how the series is displayed usually. So always the index is associated with the series, and also the series type is displayed. Okay, now if you just check, this type is given as pandas.core.series.series. So series is a data structure that is present in the pandas library again. Now let us see how we can create a data frame from list. So the same procedure we will take. We will use the constructor data frame over here, pd.dataframe, and you got the data frame over here. Now see the difference. In case of series, it was only these row indexes, but when it came to data frame, you got the column index also. So by default it assigned a column index 0 over there, and we got the column index. So in case of data frame, you will be having both row index and column index assigned to it. So if you don't specify what should be the row index or column index, it will add the row index and column index automatically. So this is how a data frame looks like. And if you see the type of it, you can very well understand that data frame is again a part of pandas library. Now this is how a data frame is created using a single list. So suppose you have a nested list. Okay, if you give the nested list like this, then this is how the data frame is created. So the first list became the first row, second list became the second row, and the third list became the third row. Okay, and we are having three columns over here and three rows over here. So automatically it assigns the row indents and column indents. Now as you are aware, dictionary is a data structure which is given in the form of a key value pair. So here we are having a dictionary here. So the key N is having values 1, 2, 3 assigned to it. D is having the values Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and C is having the values red, blue, and green. Okay, now let us try to create data frame from this dictionary. See, here if you notice over here, the key became the column index, and the value that was assigned attached to it became the values to it, okay, or the row values to it. Similarly, here D became the column index, and Sunday, Monday, Tuesday became the row value, and C became the column index, and red, blue, green became the row values. And here we are having three rows again and three columns over here. Okay, so when we are creating a data frame from a dictionary, automatically the keys becomes the column index. Now suppose this is another dictionary that we are having over here. Let us try to create a data frame from this. It is throwing us an error. So the reason is it is telling all this, if using all scalar values, you must pass an index. Okay. So now the reason is, since this 21, 31 all are mentioned as integers, it is not able to make out which should become the row. Okay, so what you have to mention, you should always mention the keys followed by a sequence. So it can be either list or tuple. When you mention it like that, then it will be easy for it to create the dictionary over data frame over here. See, if you see, for fruits is assigned 21, vegetables is assigned 10. Only thing is that you made the modification such that the value, even though it is a single value, you made it, we kept it in a as a list. So make sure always the values are specified as an ordered sequence. That is, it can be a list or tuple. Now, if you see over here that data frame we created earlier, this is how it is. Okay, so it assigned the row indents and column indents automatically. Now suppose if you want to change the row names, okay, you can go with the rename command. Okay, there is one rename function with data frame. So if you can go with that. So you got the row indents over here. The row indents changed to row 1, row 2 and row 3. You renamed it, and while renaming it you have to specify it as indents followed by a dictionary, and in dictionary all row indents and the new row indents separated with commas. That is how you have to specify it. Suppose you are renaming only 2 over here. Okay, only 2, that is the first row and second row. See, this is how you will only the first row and second row got renamed. Okay, now here you can notice that if I am printing the data frame over here, see, I'm getting the row indexes are as 0, 1 and 2 again. Okay, but here we renamed it, right? So while renaming, okay, or whenever you're specifying some operations in data frames, you have to see whether it is making the modification in the same data frame or it is creating a new data frame. Here what happened is it made the modification in a it created a new data frame and returned us that. That is why the old data frame remained as it is. So if you want to change the existing data frame, what you can do is you have to go with in place argument over here. Okay, so there is an in place argument if you see in along with the rename method. So if you specify in place as true, it will change the existing data frame itself. And you can notice that in most of the pandas methods and functions, you have this in place argument. Okay, so here indexes is 0 and 1. That is row indexes we refer to using the argument index, and column indexes are referred using the parameter column. So if you see df dot columns, we got the columns over here. What are the columns? N, D and C. So here we are trying to replace the column and we are going to do it in place. Okay, so here we change, and now if we print df, we got all the columns changed over there. Okay, now again, while creating the data frame, it assigns some data types to it, so that you can know by using df dot dataset. So it tells column 1 is having integer value, column 2 is having object, and column 3 is having object. So while creating the data frame itself, okay, you can mention this indexes, column names, etc. So if you see over here, sorry, if you see over here, see, here itself, while creating the data frame itself, you can mention the indexes. If we mention the indexes, it gives you uses this as the row indexes. Otherwise, it will give a basin by itself. Similar the case with columns. You can even mention the data type that we need to what that we want to attach with these datas. Otherwise, it will take it automatically. Now coming here, here we have the df as uh, yeah, so this is the data frame we have currently. This is the data frame we have currently. But suppose you want to interchange the rows and columns. In that case, you can go with df dot transpose. So it interchanged the, see, if you see over here, the columns became here and the rows went there. Okay, it changed the rows and columns. Okay, so earlier 1, 2, 3 were in rows, were like this. It was a column over here. Now it became a row like this. Okay, so like that also you can do it. You can do the transpose using df dot t also. Okay, now if you notice over here, once we print df again, df has not changed. So whenever we do this transpose and all, it is again creating a new data frame and it is returning us that data frame. Now let us see how we can means we cannot always create the data using a list or dictionary, right? You will have to load it using some CSV file or some online media, you will have to load the data, right? So here we will see we are trying to load the data using a CSV file. So I am having a CSV file, air travel.csv. If you see over here, it is present in this folder. So this is my Python file and this is my CSV file. So it is present in the same folder. So I'm just giving my um, uh, file name over there. A CSV file is a comma separated file. Okay. So if you see over here, I will just show all the values are separated using commas. So let us try to read this file. It created a data frame out of it. We just read it using read CSV and it created a data frame over here. And if you notice over here, it automatically assigned the row indexes from 0 to 11. And the first line in the notepad, it took as the column index. Okay, let's suppose you don't want it to take it as a column index, you can mention it. So if you see over here, see, there are many options that is specified. One is the delimiter in comma separated file. CSV file, usually it will be comma, but you are having some other kind of file, you can mention over here. Then header is infer. Okay, since by default it is header infer, that's why it took the first line as the column index. If you give it as none, then it will consider it as a row only. It won't consider it as a column index. Now if you want to want to use what all columns you want to use, what rows, if you want to skip any rows, all those things you can mention it over here by checking out these parameters. Whatever is required, you can use those. Okay, so here we have read the CSV file. Now suppose, see here I am having another file over here in this is in resource folder. Okay, in resource folder I am having another file over here. Here it is, the separator is a piping symbol. Now let us see how we are going to use that. So here, since it is in a resource folder, I have mentioned that path over the resource followed by air travel 2.csv. Okay, and you have to mention this R over here because otherwise in case of Windows, this backslash is considered as special character. So in order to avoid that confusion, you have to mention it R, which means row. That is, it will consider it as a normal backslash and it will be able to arrive at this CSV file. Okay, so then we are giving the delimiter as piping symbol over there, and that is how it has read the value. So we have specified the limiter, so it is able to read the values properly. If the delimiter is not there, then let us see. This is how it is reading. It is not identify which is the columns, which are the columns associated. So that's why we are having the delimiter. We are mentioning the specifically mentioning, okay, this is the delimiter. So then it is able to read it properly. Now suppose you want to read the data from an online source. Okay, so this is a data that I am having from the online source. It is present in it is a data set available in GitHub. So you can read this data also, but only difference that you have to notice is you have to use this raw format. Okay, so you have to click on this raw format. So it is considered, it is converted into a raw format, and this URL you have to take it and you have to mention it over here. Okay, so now it is reading the data from that online resource and we got it. Okay, we got the details as a data frame. But if you notice over here, it has automatically assigned row indexes, but in the data itself there is one patient ID that is mentioned, which can very well serve as the row index, right? So in that case, while reading itself, you can mention as index column. I want the index from this column. Okay, so this column, patient column is the first column. So it will automatically assign it as 0, right? 0 index. So that's why I'm mentioning as I want the index column as the patient column. Okay, so once we read it, you will be able to see it like this. Okay, so the patient column became the raw index over here. Now, if you want to read some data from the Excel file, so I am having an Excel file over here again in the resource folder. So this is my Excel file. if you see over here, there are three sheets in this Excel file. There is sheet 1, this is sheet 2, and this is sheet 3. Now I am trying to read this Excel file in using the Pandas library. So I am using the function read Excel. I am mentioning the path over there, and I am giving R over here. So I am trying to read it. See, it has read it. Okay. The only thing is that it is reading the first sheet by default. Okay, the first sheet it will read by default when we just give read Excel over there. Now, if you want to read some other sheet, you can mention it using the sheet name parameter, and you can pass the indents to it. Indents or the sheet name to it. So here I am trying to read the second sheet. That is this one. So that's why I have passed 1 over there. First sheet will be having indent 0 since indexing starts with 0. Okay, so I'm reading the second sheet over here. See, I got the second sheet. Whatever was there in the second sheet, I got it in the form of a data frame. Okay. Now there is another method. You can also load the Excel file using the Excel file constructor. Then you can get the sheet names from that. So it will give you the proper sheet names. You can use that also. Now, while reading the Excel file, if you feel like, no, I don't want to read the entire thing. Okay, I don't want to read the entire thing. It doesn't make sense. I just want to read only few columns. Okay, then you just mention it using the use columns. Then if you read it, yes, this is how you are going to get it. Okay, now let us see, many website HTML pages also have tables associated with it, right? So if you want to get some data from one such website, you can use the method read HTML. So here I am you reading the data from a money control website. I am trying to get the stock prices of L&T company. Okay, so here, yes, I got the web page over here. So if you see in this page, there are many tables that is given over here, right? So I'm just trying to read that. So what I have done is I am doing using read HTML. I am getting it into a variable stock prices. So I'm printing it. One thing you can notice here is that it is not printing an exact data frame, right? It is some kind of list that it is printing, because you can see there is a square brackets opening over here. Then there is a table over here. Then there is another table over here. Then there is another table over here. Like this, um, it has printed, right? So if you see, we'll just check the type of what the variable that we have read. So it is a list. So what it is doing it, all the tables that is available in the HTML page, it returns as a list. So it is a list of data frames. Now if you check the length of it, 55. So there were 55 tables in that HTML page. So it has read 55 tables and it is returning as it as a list to us. So if you want to access individual page the data frames from that, you can do. See, this was my first table that is as index 0. This is my second table that is at index 2. Now this is my third table that is its index 3. Now I feel like, no, I want to use this 0th column as my index, row index. I can do that using set index also. So I read it, but after that I felt like, no, I need to change the index. So I changed it using set index function over there. Okay. Now, after reading all these data frames from the web page, you must be feeling like, no, I need to save it into my local system, right? That's also quite possible, right? You are reading it from an online web page. You are having a data frame over there. You very well feel like I need to save it, okay? So you can use two CSV. So one thing is you have a data frame, you can save it as a CSV file. So here I am saving it. And if you see over here, I'm saving it in that folder itself. So this is it. Okay. So yeah. So whatever data we read from that data set online resource, it is saved into my local system now as a CSV file. Okay. You can convert. You can save it as a dictionary also. See, saved it as a dictionary. Okay, so the way I saved the dictionary is using indents. The orient is indents, that's why it's saving like that. That is, for each index it is giving a dictionary over here. So sets is the column and this is the value, age group is the column, this is the value. Okay, there are other means also to save the dictionary, you can just see over here other means of how the dictionary you want it to be. It is given over here, whether you want it as a list of column and values, whether you want it as a series, whether you want to split it with index separately, column separately, data, all those details are given over here. So whatever way you want the dictionary to be, you can specify that and you will be getting it. And again, you can save it as an HTML file also using 2HTML. So if you go over here, you will be getting it as an HTML file also. So I'll just show. Yeah, it has saved it as an HTML file if you see over here. Okay. So that is how we can use Pandas to read data from an online source. It has two data structures, basically series and data frames. You can, whatever way you want to manipulate data, you will be able to do that. You can specify the row index, you can specify the column index, you can read data from CSV, from your local system, from an online list source, from an Excel sheet, from an HTML file, from any source. You can get the data using Pandas. That's what for today. In the next video, I'll be coming with more details on Pandas. Thank you all.